Can you
keep
tell me,
comparing
like,
this to
what do
Homecoming,
you
but
think? Why? Why do you think it's better than Homecoming?
Because
yeah,
it
Coming from
understands
people who actually really enjoy Homecoming.
it understands the fundamentality of Peter Parker and Spider-Man
is that
because
even a?
Homecoming.
That sounded wrong. The
That was a
fundamentality.
that was a glass onion
Yeah,
moment right there, bro.
yeah,
That was straight
yeah.
up a glass onion
You
Fundamentality.
look
moment.
it up. You look it up. I don't know. I just said it. What's going on, guys? It's the What Would You Think crew, and we are back for a new video of our series titled Defense. It's me, Omid. Someone do it. Someone fucking do it.
How's it going,
It's
guys?
me,
It's me, Amir.
It's me, Alvin.
It's Amir, it's Alvan, and Omid. We got the crew back, and as I said, we're doing a title defense, and today's video is going to be a great one. It is a controversial Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Far From Home. According to a lot of people, this movie is seen as one of the worst, if not the worst Spider-Man movie, probably maybe better than Lotus. But what this discussion is I'm here to present that I think this movie is much better than people say, because it has Mysterio. I think Tom Holland's great in it, Zendaya is great in it, and what Amir and Alvan, they're going to present their case. They're either going to be agreeing with me, saying that this movie is actually slept on, or attacking me, saying that this movie is actually trash. So just to start it off, I'll present my case to you guys. So everyone on this channel, everyone who knows me, knows I am not a fan of Tom Holland's Peter Parker and Spider-Man. But when Far From Home came out, I was immediately a big fan of it. And to my surprise, a lot of people did not like this movie. They were saying, oh, Peter can't be outside of Queens or New York, or the villain was essentially not as good as Adrian Toomes. But I think Quentin Beck, Jake Gyllenhaal, Mysterio is great in this movie, and I think the biggest reason why I think this movie is so much better than especially Homecoming. I think Homecoming is the worst Spider-Man movie ever made. Is that this Spider-Man movie allows Peter to actually be Spider-Man or Peter Parker, because in the last movie the whole thing was it was Iron Boy Jr. Silver Spoon shoved straight up his ass. This movie, it kind of feels like they take off the training wheels and let him loose, and you can see Spider-Man make mistakes. You can see him juggle his personal life, because I said it before, in Homecoming, a big part of Peter Parker is the duality between Peter and Spider-Man, and I felt like in Homecoming, every single time there was a choice between Peter and Spider-Man, Spider-Man always won, but it wasn't necessarily ever, it never felt like a curse, because Spider-Man's like, oh man, I gotta be an Avenger, I gotta do superhero shit, I gotta skip school. Like, that's not real. I think for this, you see Peter actually juggle of wanting to do the right thing, but also pursuing a crush, MJ, on this high school trip, and I think that is very strong. Zendaya is really, she becomes an actual character in this movie. But I'm seeing, and then also just to, before I close out, Mysterio is an amazing villain. I think he's a very hard character to be done right, and this movie does him, I think, almost perfectly, if not perfectly. And I think the illusion scene itself, solo, Homecoming, easily. But I'll go and throw it to you guys. I think Spider-Man Far From Home is actually a great movie.
Okay.
Do you want to go first, Alvin?
I think throw it to
You go first.
Alvin.
You go.
You
Oh,
want me
you
to go
want me to
first?
go first? Okay, Amir,
Alvin,
you go first.
Alvin,
Amir
Alvin
goes
goes
first.
Oh, okay.
Alvin.
Okay. Well,
You
you know,
got
I'm at my
this.
desk right now. I'm at my desk, and of course, we're doing this whole channel. We're all huge Spider-Man fans, obviously.
Yes,
Pull out
sir.
the Mofex. Pull out the Mofex.
Well, okay, I don't have the Mayfec. It's in the detail right there, but I have
Okay.
this. This is
Oh,
the
it's
suit
great.
from Far From Home, is it not?
Oh, that's cool. I also have a little bit of Spider-Man Cup too.
How the
Shut
fuck is
up,
that
bro.
Spider-Man?
Shut up, bro. Oh shoot, the little stand fell. I'll get that later, but it's just, you know, this is from Far From Home, okay?
Well,
So
it could technically be from the
No
beginning of
Way
No Way
Home.
Home.
I get it. I get it. I get it, bro. You're supposed to be on my side, okay? Don't do this right now. This
Well,
is too early in the video. This is 2
okay.
minutes in. All right? So
Sure.
let me get my piece out.
Okay.
So, rewatching this movie, I think that on this channel and amongst my friends, I probably rag on this movie a lot, but I want it to be known that I don't actually. I'm gonna pull an Omid. I don't actually hate this movie.
What the
I
fuck
actually
is that
think
supposed to be? Does it mean
see
Superman Legacy?
no yeah. As a fan, I want a good Superman movie.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
do.
More
I
than
do.
anyone, I
Yeah.
want a good Superman movie.
I do.
Exactly. Okay, keep saying that. I believe you. Right.
All right, let's hear
So
it.
I don't think this is a particularly bad movie, but this is my least favorite Spider-Man movie of Tom Holland's trilogy. I want to have that stipulation. This is my least favorite of the trilogy, but that doesn't kind of overlook the technical aspects and the achievements that have been presented in this movie, right? Like I think the whenever it's in New York, it really locks me in. But the problems that I have with this movie is just you kind of already touched upon it where like to me this is not what my Spider-Man truly is, where they take him out of his element in Europe. And I think that I you say Homecoming is the worst. I think Homecoming is the best. So coming from the high highs of Homecoming, this movie was a little bit of a disappointment because it felt it was a good epilogue to the Infinity Saga, but it kind of just felt like, you know, I don't know, it just I didn't really
Like a side
connect with
story?
this movie. Like a little bit of a side story, I guess, but also I guess at the end it ties into No Way Home, so I can't really say it's a standalone. But again, I just rewatching it, it's fun, but I would never have rewatched it without the channel. And I know I say that
You say
every
that a
single
lot. At
time we
least
do
in
a
every
title
single
defense video,
fucking video.
but it's just again, this is a 7 out of 10 movie, but it's just my least favorite Spider-Man movie of Tom Holland's. I know I did a lot of word salad, a lot of just you. I did an Amir. I did an Amir. I
Yeah,
didn't
it was
really
a
do
lot
an
of
Amir.
yapping.
That
A
was
lot of
not
yapping.
And I could do more actually. I'm gonna do right now. No, Joe.
Amir, what are your,
Amir.
go ahead and
So,
present your case.
let me go into my thoughts. So, the first couple of things I wanted to say, addressing Omid's thoughts. He said this was the Homecoming was the worst Spider-Man movie. I would give that title to Spider-Man Lotus.
I already
First
said
of all,
that
that is for
before.
sure.
I said that.
Today? In this
In
video?
the video, yes. If people say this is the worst, if not Spider-Man Lotus is the worst. So
Oh, I didn't hear you.
I
I
said
probably
it.
checked out for a second there.
Yeah.
And then the second thing you said was you thought it was really hard because I'm gonna go into my thoughts, but you said it was really hard to adapt Mysterio as a villain. I would argue I think the strongest part of Homecoming is the fact that they adapt Vulture very well, and I think Vulture is infinitely harder to do because everyone knows he's just the bald guy with feathers on him, and they actually made him really cool with Michael Keaton. So I think it is undeniable that both of these movies do their villains very well. They're always the strongest parts of their movies, and it's no secret. I mean, I'm a big Tobey Maguire fan. I love the Raimi trilogy. And when I saw this movie out of theaters, I think I was not to say like I'm a trendsetter or anything, but like I did not like the movie instantly. Like right when I finished it, I'm like, ah man, this was so weak, and I hated how stupid they made Peter Parker. Cause you
Was
know
there not enough
he
Legos in the movie?
Legos. What the fuck are you talking about?
How like he builds a Death Star in Homecoming?
Oh.
Or...
No. He's just like an idiot, and they need that to work for Mysterio and the dynamic that they're having. But I will say on the rewatch, it was actually surprisingly stronger than I remember. I still have a lot of issues. I think the comedy in this is actually truly terrible. In the third act, once it's Disney Channel original movie with Happy Hogan babysitting the kids, I thought all of that was very weak. But like Omi said, Mysterio is a very strong character. I don't know if he's as strong as Vulture, and I think this suffers from the same issue as Homecoming, but to a greater extent of it's too focused on being a part of the MCU. Like we have Maria Hill, we have Nick Fury. They keep tying Captain Marvel, Thor, all these references that I think truly hold it back in being, like Alvin said, a true Spider-Man story. Because I love romance that is shown in this movie with MJ and Peter. I think super strong. And after rewatching it today, I actually think I prefer MJ, Michelle Jones as a love interest over Emma Stone in the duology. I think she's actually a very, very strong character in this movie, and particularly in No Way Home.
She's great.
Looks
In
like
No
I'm
Way
giving
Home.
Alvin an aneurysm. I think what makes MJ such a endearing character is she's not perfect. You know, she has quirks. That was always my issue with the duology. Is Gwen Stacy was a perfect character. She never really had any flaws, and I thought that kind of made her infinitely boring. But here, this felt like a real relationship. Seeing the two of them really try to, they want to sit next to each other, they want to talk, and that just felt very, very charming. But I will say, like, you know, this whole series, it's about looking at movies with a different lens than when it first came out. Because I think, like a lot of the audience, this has been, I think, one of the most hated Spider-Man movies. As a Spider-Man aficionado, I think I can speak for all of us that it was hated. I mean, you can find, I think, an infinite amount of video essays online about how
All right,
weak
I
this
gotta
movie
cut you off.
is.
I think a little bit here. I want to just say one thing. You said you
Let's
were
hear
a
it.
trend. You were saying you were a trendsetter.
I said I wasn't. I said I wasn't.
You said you weren't, but didn't you say you didn't enjoy the
I said
movie?
I don't know if I was. Like I said, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't want to call myself that, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I am.
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
okay, I thought you were contradicting yourself because you said you didn't enjoy the movie, making you a trendsetter because people didn't enjoy the movie, but then you rewatched the movie saying it was better than you remembered.
I think his camera cut off. I think
Oh,
he's frozen.
yeah, yeah. All right, we'll wait for him to join again. We'll wait for him to join again. Yeah, so you were saying you were a trendsetter or a pioneer, right? Because you didn't like the movie and you before everybody else because now
Yeah.
people have soured on the movie. But to me, you contradicted yourself because you said now rewatching the movie, you enjoyed it more than you did the first time.
No, it's because I came in with a such low standard or expectations because of how weak it was initially, and it's like we were talking about with Fan Four Stick. There is value in this movie. Is this
Of
a
course, there
flawed
is
movie?
much better,
100%.
much better
It's a
than
flawed
Fan
movie.
Forced It.
It.
Because
I'm
also,
coming at this. I'm coming at this with the lens of a title of defense. It has
yes,
value. Obviously,
yeah,
there's a lot of issues with this movie, but I would not say I contradicted myself. I mean, we can
okay,
go into the
because
plethora of
and then I
issues.
was
There's
saying
directed by
to
John Watts, so that's
John
the
Watts
first one.
is a hack sometimes. But I would say also for Vulture, I think Spectacular Spider-Man did a very similar story of instead of being hoed over by Tony, he's hoed over by Norman. I think Norman didn't
It's
give
not
him.
done the same way because what makes Vulture so strong, and this is not a title defense on Homecoming, but they make him a scavenger in two ways. You know, it's the idea of they're picking up the scraps. He is the actual Vulture, like literally and figuratively, and like you're saying, it's tied to Tony Stark, which I think works very well in the MCU. Like that's like the one thing that tying it back to the MCU actually made sense to me because when you think about it, yeah, the Avengers they do a lot of damage, very much like your beloved BVS. Superman breaks buildings and they question him. I liked
Oh
that
yeah, they put him on
Homecoming.
trial. They actually question it.
No,
They
they
put
don't
him on
really do anything
trial.
with it.
They put him on trial. That's awesome.
They don't really do anything with it. But I think like Mysterio here, the barf scene. I think that was a really smart way of integrating a Civil War cutscene or the opening to tying it back to Mysterio. I think Quentin Beck was actually compelling. I think he did turn a little arch at like the third act. It was almost
Well,
like
it's
too
an hour
fast for me.
into
Where
the
like
movie, and halfway through the movie, he turns evil
yeah, but he's willing to kill people. I'm like, oh,
because we
that
never
just
knew
felt
the
like he
real
became
him.
so evil.
Because we never knew the real him. He was lying the entire time.
Yeah, I think I've always had this headcanon ever since I saw it in 2019, but we don't even know if Quentin Beck is a real person. We don't even know if
Yeah,
Jake Gyllenhaal is the real Quentin Beck.
yeah. You
That's
don't know.
just a character that they made
Yes,
up as
yes.
to be Mysterio. So
I
I don't
I
even
think
take
it is.
right. That's my thought when I
Yeah,
saw the movie. I never really thought that Quentin Beck was a real
alter
person
ego.
in the MCU.
Yeah,
It's just a character that they created to be the alter ego of this Mysterio character that
yes,
this group of people created.
yes, yes.
Okay,
From is an
Yeah.
interesting.
Earth 833
Yes.
character that he just constructed. Cause I even thought this too. Like, what's so strong about this movie is like because it's post Endgame, and it was kind of interesting to see them kind of do the multiverse like tease before they actually went straight into the multiverse saga like head first. Because it was like kind of cool. Like, oh, you're seeing him say, like, oh, this is Earth 616. I'm from a different multiverse, and seeing Peter kind of geek out about it. Because I actually I I have to give Tom Holland a lot of credit. I think this was the first time for me. I did not think he was Spider-Man in Civil War. I did not think he was Spider-Man even in Homecoming or the first two Avengers movies. But in this one, to me, it really felt like he understood what it meant to be Peter Parker and what it meant to be Spider-Man. Like, I love the line when Mysterio's like, "Oh, never apologize for being the smartest person in the room," and I think it's just I actually believe that Peter was a smart guy, and you kind of, and also I mean, just for us, and we're all comic book guys, like we saw Mysterio's twist coming because we know that's his whole thing. I feel like for people who didn't watch, who do not know the character, we're probably sucker punch like, "Whoa, what? This is like this is a he's evil." Like I
Yeah.
think they did a great job with it. Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing in this movie because like
Wait, can I say
why do
something?
you guys
There
think
was-
this? I want to know why people thought this was the worst Spider-Man movie. Is it because it's actually outside of Queens?
No, I think let me tell you why. Because I think one thing as Spider-Man fans, I am so sick of hearing. They're like, "Oh, Toby is the best
I agree.
Peter, Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man, and Tom Holland's the best both of them." And I think the
stupid.
biggest issue with this movie is I think they do Peter Parker very well. I think Spider-Man, though, I think he is actually the weakest part of this movie. He is never truly heroic. They dumb him down to make Mysterio seem better and greater than he really is. And I think that is because, like Omid's saying, in Homecoming, maybe they made him too heroic to like he already kind of had that like moral like righteousness, and that wasn't I guess the best way to start the character. Here, I think he's an idiot. Like he almost killed Brad with the Edith. Like they made him like a moron. You know, I think that was my biggest
Well,
issue of like
they made him
you never.
human.
I have, yeah. So I think so. If you see me looking to the side, it's just because I wrote notes throughout the movie. But I will say, like, I did enjoy this movie when it came out, but I even wrote in my notes, and you brought it up, Omid. I think this is the beginning of the end of my reverence and my love for what the MCU was,
Because you loved
because
MCU before this.
I loved it. I'm not gonna like apologize to say
For
it,
sure, I agree.
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it was a very important part of my life in a very specific era of my life. And I think you mentioned it and I wrote it in my notes. They they kind of teased the multiverse before it was actually the multiverse saga. And at the time when you watched it in 2019, it's like, "Oh, that's sick." But now I'm watching it as a 2024 Alvin, and like now I'm like, "Oh, I don't like this. Like,
Yeah, you don't.
please
Stop.
don't do this," right? And I wrote in my notes where it's like, specifically for the scenes where you see Iron Man being referenced, I in 2019 you feel something because it just happened, right? Where Iron Man snapped and Endgame happened and he sacrificed himself. But now, having watched this after July 2024, I wrote, I don't feel the same watching this as I did the first time. Seeing Tony Stark at the time was gut-wrenching whenever he popped up, but now I just groan because RDJ is back and now I feel nothing when I see
Well,
Iron
don't
Man.
you think that's a little bit of a cynical take?
Yes,
How does
this is we're doing this is the point of the video. This is the point of the
no?
series.
I'm
You're
saying
watching with a
for
different
you,
view. You're watching with a
for
different lens.
yeah,
Oh,
but for
that
you
was
though,
good.
for you though, for you, because if
No,
I
he
watch
feels this way as an MCU fan. He's saying a lot of other people might feel that same way because
no,
of the actions of the
no,
MCU.
because I know Alvin's pissed off that Robert Downey Jr. is getting $95 million to play Doctor Doom.
We all
But
are. You
We
can
all
use that
are,
money.
yeah.
I
You could
agree.
use that money for other
I
things.
agree. I 100% agree. But what we're doing with this series is to view them because Amir did this really well in the last movie. He would talk a lot of bullshit about what wasn't in the movie, deleted scenes, the maker, possible sequels. Like no, Alvin, we gotta see the movie for what it was. And when the movie came out, Robert Downey Jr. was not hated. He was not a Doctor Doom shill. He wasn't doing any of this bullshit. Like I think when you watch the movie, actually you feel Iron Man's weight being gone, and it's almost a relief
actually
to
didn't
see
care.
Spider-Man be by himself, to see him actually be an adult, to see him have to be his own hero. We've always loved in the comic books.
I rolled my eyes
Homecoming,
actually.
in Homecoming, he's Iron Boy fucking Junior.
I'm going to let you keep talking, but like for me, this movie is Homecoming light because it does everything that Homecoming does, but in a worse
No
aspect.
way.
Because
No way.
because yes, because one, they rehash the Stark villain, right? They did it with Toombs and it felt fresh because it was new to Spider-Man and it was new to the universe. But the fact that they're doing it again in Far From Home, it's like, come on. We've already done this before, but I will admit it was a fun spin. It was very like they kind of
Well,
played it as comedic when you see him in the background, but I don't think that they should have done this where they kind of tie it into Stark, right?
well,
And because
I disagree.
in the comics, Spider-Man's rogues gallery, they're misfits of science, right? We can all agree.
yes. Yeah, but I don't think Mysterio ever was that. He's a failed
Mysterio isn't
actor,
a Method of
and,
Science. He's a
and yeah, he's a failed actor, or what's it called, stunt coordinator or special effects artist. What I thought worked really well with this movie is, it brought a lot of people together. Obviously, yes, they reused the idea of being wronged by Iron Man, but they still kept, I think, the core of Mysterio intact, of it being very egotistical and selfish, and saying, "Oh, I'm going to be the greatest hero of all time," as a showman, as a special effects, like, oh, that they found a way to modernize it by connecting it to the MCU, because obviously it's in the MCU and it makes sense to connect it to Civil War, Iron Man 1, and having like these other people be wronged in the movies, but then they still keep the Mysterio essence of a showman and a narcissist there, and that's because Mysterio is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, and I mean, his costume looks great, the
yeah.
illusion
We
scenes I
all
think were
agree with
tough.
that. We all agree with that. I think that is very well done. And I think that is probably the most fondly remembered parts of this movie. Where um, before I rewatched it, that was the only thing I remembered. And I think that is a strength and a weakness, because that is, it really cuts through. But there's so much, like Alvin is saying, that is filler or chaff around Mysterio. Because
But
I'm trying to
Michelle,
think in this. I'm trying to think in this movie. Alvin was saying how he didn't like Iron Man being referenced because of the RGJ kind of external factors. For me personally, it wasn't that that was why I didn't like Iron Man being referenced. For me, it was just like, stop bringing in other heroes for the Spider-Man movie. Like, I made this joke to Omid. In the third act, Spider-Man, I think his web shooters are broken, so he has to pick up a shield and a hammer. And I'm like, the trademark of Spider-Man in the MCU is just him copying other MCU Marvel heroes, Iron Man, Captain America, or Thor, and that's
I
why when they brought in RDJ and
or
referenced Iron Man, I'm like, dude, get over it. Like, this is our chance to not be tied to Iron Man, and they try to make that kind of statement in the second act where he's like, "Oh, I will never live up to Iron Man," and I'm like, I don't care about that. Like, that should have never been on the table. You don't want to be that. And then Happy was saying, "Yeah, you will never be Iron Man." Tony could even be Iron Man, but I think, like Alvin said, a lot of this does feel like stuff that we've seen in
but
Homecoming and done worse.
but it's worse than Homecoming, because the entire thing is Iron Man literally, it's Peter's dick riding Iron Man throughout the whole movie. They
He
literally
learns
have
he learns by the end to become free of Iron Man, and then it's like he's almost learning the same thing again. Like, what is his arc in this? Because I think it would be
his
really
arc.
interesting if they're saying to be more kind of be more open to being Peter and
Well
to
balanced.
let go
That's
of
what
your
it was.
responsibility. But it didn't feel like that at the end of the movie, because it was like he let go of responsibility, and that's why Mysterio came to power. So it felt like the same arc.
Well, he didn't let go of responsibility. It was, he was strict. But I mean, I think his arc in this movie is finding balance and also being your own hero. Because yes, is he still trying to be Iron Man? Kind of. But I think he was still. I mean, it shows. This is the first time where I'm actually happy that Peter is a kid, because it showed the naivety of a kid giving this weapon of mass destruction to just some random guy he met, because this guy has a nice costume. He has the look. He gives off this charisma that fools him, and that is very realistic. I think that Spider-Man would make that mistake because he's a child. But also with this, it has him juggling like his own personal life. Like when you see him leave the opera house and see him be heartbroken that like, oh, he has to leave MJ. Because I was telling this to Nick, I think the romance in this, at least just the love interest, is far superior in this movie than it was in Homecoming. Because I never believed Liz Allen and Peter were ever going to really be a thing, because not only is it a freshman and a senior, but like they never really had any, I think, scenes together. A lot of it was like maybe just they would look at each other in passing, but
It was the first
this,
crush, though. It
Mhm.
wasn't true. It was just his first infatuation.
Yeah,
yes,
and I think it's also just kind of like, I guess for us as fans, we know they're not gonna get together because it's Peter and MJ. So it's kind of
yes,
that's always gonna be lingering in the back of your head. So you're not really putting too much investment into what you're seeing on screen until this movie when they actually start to develop the relationship. But I will say this, I guess, in the beginning, it feels like we've missed a bunch of the steps leading up to Peter liking her, I guess. It kind of just throws you right into it. So he already has this plan of making MJ his girlfriend, but you don't really, you're
Which
kind
I
of just
buy.
thrust.
That makes sense.
it's
It's
like
like
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
that's
When
like
you
Exactly.
said
it's
that, I can agree
As
with
logical.
that.
as a
That's like
comic
Uncle
fan, you
Ben.
kind of yeah,
Yeah,
as a
it's like
comic fan, you're just
skip
kind
it.
of like, okay, you're like, I get it because it's Peter and MJ, right?
Yeah,
But let me take a look at my notes to see what else that I wrote because I will say this that like I will acknowledge that there are good parts in this movie. I think this movie has really great attention to detail, and I will credit John Watts and like the writers and the people who made the movie. Where I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the scene in Venice, you can actually see the Mysterio crew
Yep.
in the background, right?
Yeah, point that out to Omid.
now I saw
Yeah,
Mysterio.
yeah, you can see Mysterio, you can see the other like the other kind of scrawnier British guy there. And I also enjoyed during the fight. I think this was a really good kind of like you can take this snippet in this movie and it can kind of show the characters of Mysterio and Spider-Man. It's their essence, right? So when they defeat the water monster, Mysterio's in the spotlight. He's there doing this, he's doing handshakes, he's doing that, right?
Yeah,
So he wants to be in the spotlight. He wants to be a well-renowned hero. But I loved how Peter's in the shadows and the first thing he does is he takes the Black Dahlia necklace out and he's like it's not broken. He's relieved because to him that's what
that's
was
more
important.
important. Yeah,
Yes, right. That is a really
Is
great
that when the
Spider-Man.
first fight though? Because he felt like he failed there, so that makes sense why. Because also he wasn't even dressed as Spider-Man; he had to be hidden, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I'm saying if you just take that clip and then you kind
That's
of just
true.
take a look at the essence, you can kind of already get those character like what their character
one is a
traits are.
showman, one is doing it for the glory, and one is like, oh, this is important to me. This small
Yes.
piece of jewelry I want to give to someone I care about. That it feels like Spider-Man 3 maybe even possibly done better
Weaker,
than like the
weaker.
ring
No, no,
scene.
no. Don't even.
The
Not
ring
even.
scene.
Not even. Not even. Not even.
All
No.
right. Well, I think we can all agree though, Mysterio is a better villain than Venom. Factual.
That was yeah,
Factual.
I
Factual.
don't know.
Topher
yeah,
Grace's
no, I
Venom.
agree. I agree.
Yeah,
I'm with
factual.
you.
Thank you.
I'm with you. I think not as good as like Sandman. Maybe they're like neck and neck, but definitely
Sandman's
better
really
than Venom.
good. Sandman's
Sandman's
really
great.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the
I think
weaker
unless
parts of this movie, let's talk about it, is the students. I think all of the students, aside from MJ, are a bit weaker. Like I thought they could have done something really interesting with Flash Thompson here. Again, he's just like a you're laughing at him, which I think is so unfortunate. It's like they can like how we talked about in Spectacular Spider-Man and in the duology, we actually like Flash Thompson and that like how he's a fan of Spider-Man and you kind of see the humanity in him. But for Flash, he feels like a caricature, and even at the end of the movie when he's picked up by the chauffeur, and you also see hints throughout the movie of him not being loved by his mom and being neglected. Like that could have been something that was interesting that they could have looked into that they don't, and then also No Way Home doesn't really care about that either. And then they do kind of a funny joke with Ned and Betty, but I think it gets kind of old after a while because it's just the same joke over and over again that they're like in love. But I
I thought
will
that was
always
good.
love the two teachers. The teachers are
Yeah.
always great.
JB
Is it JB
Smoove
Smoove and
and
Martin Starr? They're
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
yeah.
The funniest like physical gag in this movie is when he's taking the selfie, and
Camera.
then there's like three fake outs where you think he's gonna
They
drop the
grabbed it. I'm
camera,
like,
and then when he's checking the photo, when it's supposed to be securely in his hand, where you're not taking the photo or anything, he drops it into the
Got
water.
it.
That's like
Yeah. He's
soup.
like,
That was a
God damn
great
it. Yeah.
comedic timing, physical
Yeah.
comedy. I love that part.
Yeah, I thought the movie has a lot of laughs. I think JB's movie is great. I enjoyed the Betty and Ned because I mean in the first movie it's like, oh, you just mentioned that Betty's a photo like the TV anchor it was kind of cool to see her get more. And I thought also, I don't even know if this is like the first time that they kind of show Peter have like a rival for his love interest. Because I mean, they kind of did that with like Harry in the first movie, but I thought that was kind of cool seeing Peter really be kind of jealous and insecure and worried if MJ reciprocated his feelings or not, because I feel like the other movies don't necessarily do that. I mean, I love TASM, but Emma Stone and Andrew fall in love pretty much instantaneously.
Like in the first act, which I think that's also another thing that doesn't make that movie as fun.
It's really good.
This
That movie's really good, but this is not a TASM
it's
title
a remake.
defense.
That movie's a remake.
This is not a TASM title defense. This is a Far From Home title defense. But I don't think we've ever seen a love triangle. I think this might possibly be the best love triangle we've seen in a Spider-Man movie ever.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of by default there, buddy. You know, right?
But,
You kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Punk and Spider-Man, they were kind of fighting for Gwen.
Well, I meant I mean, not really. He never liked
Whoa,
her.
you're
She's
saying
the
the
night is
animated
late.
valid? You're saying
No,
Across the
Hobie never liked Gwen.
Yeah, but you don't know that until the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is it's fun. I think it's forgettable. I don't think.
I think it's better than
they're
Homecoming.
really.
I can't budge on that.
Can you tell me like what do you think? Why? Why do you think it's better than Homecoming?
Because it understands it understands the fundamentality of Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
That sounded wrong.
That was a glass onion moment right there, bro.
Yeah,
that was straight up a glass onion.
You look it up. You look it. I don't know. I just said it. But
this is the inflection point of the video.
Yes, but no, because I told Amir this. I think we were all gonna say this is an enjoyable movie, but what I want to drive home, I want the YouTube comments is, I think this is better than Homecoming. And I'll tell you why it is, because Homecoming I think lacks an understanding of what Spider-Man is and what Peter is, and I've said it before. I mean, Iron Man is just so present in that movie way too much. Because Amir said you don't enjoy that.
You did understand. Remember, it's
Peter
an adaptation, not a recreation.
I agree. It sounds like you guys have
Iron
that
Man is the stand-in for Uncle Ben, which I would have preferred to have someone else that isn't just another superhero that he's trying to become. But I think the core of Homecoming is definitely a Spider-Man story. It's him learning responsibility. Obviously, he doesn't get to have the consequence that truly matters in his life, but same thing can be said here. There's really no consequence to Peter's life.
Well, he loses his identity
until
I will say this.
Yeah, but
keep going. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say it's like until the end, but like even then, that only matters because of the third one.
Exactly.
That's an end credit scene.
What's a comic book?
I know. The title defense is for Far From Home, and we need to focus on that movie. But it's hard to ignore the fact that No Way Home comes directly after this, and thinking about No Way Home, low-key retroactively makes this movie just a smidge better because you know what's going to happen. But if we're taking a look at this isolated movie, I guess going back to your argument that Homecoming is worse than this one, I fundamentality disagree. Okay? Because
I don't know why you hate that movie. Is it because he's a kid?
No, because it's not a Spider-Man's. What?
Is it? And he's not buff?
No, in that movie, I'm saying is it. I don't want to cut off Alvin, but I think it's not a Spider-Man story. It's an Iron Man story.
No, see, Iron Man is a foil for Spider-Man. Adrian Toomes is a foil for Peter. The Vulture is an antagonist for Spider-Man. I don't know if you kind of were able to make those connections, but Peter should not strive to be Iron Man.
Yes.
Spider-Man should not strive to be Iron Man, and Peter should not strive to be Adrian Toomes.
When was Peter ever striving to be Adrian Toomes?
Adrian Toomes was trying to convince him. It's like, hey, we're the same. Peter's like, hey, we're not the same. Did you watch Homecoming?
I did, but that's not like that one line that he clearly says no. So it was never. I don't think it was ever a point where Spider-Man's like, I'm actually kind of like Vulture. I can understand for Iron Man it would make sense, but I did not see that for Vulture.
Vulture is trying to convince Peter to work together, right?
Yeah, but
I think what Alvin is trying to say.
In the movie
what he's trying to say is Peter. This is his inflection
point.
Fork in the road,
yes.
right?
It's
not that Peter's trying to be Vulture and Spider-Man's trying to be Iron Man. It's the idea of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, because they're the same person, he doesn't know which way to go. It's two
Yes.
different guardians trying to. It's like the devil and the angel on his shoulder. He didn't say it as
And I'm
eloquently, but
guessing
that's
you're
what he
saying
meant.
the answer is neither of them.
Exactly. It's
Because
be
he
yourself.
chooses to be his own person.
I don't know. I think the fact that he's
The
still trying to
action
be
sucks
Iron
in that
Man.
movie. I'll say
He's
that.
trying to be Iron Man.
The
still,
final
but-
battle isn't great. The final battle isn't great, but the story itself, it's a Spider-Man story. I don't know if you've ever read a Spider-Man book, but it's a Spider-Man story.
I don't think it's a Spider-Man
you?
story. I
Hey,
have
Omid,
read.
Have you?
next time I see you, I'm giving
Have
you
you?
this. All right?
I
I'm
don't
letting
think
you
Don't
you're
give him
read
gonna
this.
read
that shit
that.
book.
I
Don't
think
give him
you're
that
gonna
shit
read
book.
I
Don't
think
give him
you're
that
gonna
shit
read
book. Oh man, I'll let you borrow Ultimate Spider-Man.
that.
Oh, you got the
Fantastic
life
Four
story
life
for
story?
Fantastic Four.
I
That one
have
I'm
the
actually curious about. Have you read
It's
it
Did you
yet?
actually
ever
kind
read
of
it? How is it?
I'm reading it. It's kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh shit!
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give it
I've
to you
been
guys.
reading Ultimate Spider-Man actually, and right now I'm on Ultimate X-Men,
Awesome.
and
Let's get
it's
back
actually
to
pretty
the
good.
video. Let's get back to.
Yeah,
So
well,
you did
what
the
was I
game.
gonna say?
Because I'll
get
say
your-
this. I'll say this. I think what you guys misunderstand about Far From Home is that maybe it's not exactly what I don't know. Maybe Spider-Man PS5 or like Spectacular
The game
Spider-Man. No, I'm saying because I think you guys have such a passion because as like not that you guys are fanboys or anything, but like oh Spider-Man has to be in New York. He has to do certain things.
I don't care about the New York thing. That's I don't care about that. That's fine. I don't think he needs to
Didn't Alvin
be
care
in
about
New
that?
York, or he has to be in Queens, or he has to be in Brooklyn. All I just want him to be on Earth. As long as you just keep him on Earth, that's fine.
I agree with that, but I don't know.
Alvin, you don't agree?
I wrote this in my notes. Let me read it to you.
Spider-Man needs to be in New York.
No, let me read this to
You
you.
mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. Let's hear
Yeah.
it. Let's hear it.
I don't know why Spidey in Europe I don't vibe with, but I'm okay with Spidey in space. They are essentially the same thing. The hero
What?
out of his element. I wrote that
Yeah.
because I'm
So-
thinking about Infinity
yeah.
War, which takes place before this movie, Infinity War and Endgame. He's outside of New York, but for some reason that works. But it's because he's not the protagonist, right? He's not the main character. He's a side character where he's able to kind of thrive and interact with these different Avengers where we've never seen him in these situations. But now that, you're kind of taking him back and he's in Europe and he has to deal with the aftermath of Endgame, it's just kind of like I don't know, it just doesn't work with me. And then it kind of like I said, it's just kind of like whatever. Like it's forgettable. And I will say we haven't even mentioned Nick Fury. We haven't mentioned Maria Hill. We haven't mentioned the MCU parts of this movie, right?
Well, I think they're fine because they're barely in it. They
Then
just
why don't
give
you
him
talk
the-
about it
Get him
more?
out.
They give him the
Talk
Night
about it.
Monkey costume. They give him the Night Monkey costume, and then they leave, and they're coming back at the very end. And I'll say this: I think the illusion scene of Nick Fury taking on Quentin Beck for
Yes,
them
we
not to
get
be a
it.
psych
Mysterio
out.
is cool.
No,
Yes,
the
yes.
psych out. He's talking about Nick Fury. I'm talking about Nick Fury. When Nick Fury takes on Quentin Beck and beats him, and then you feel Spider-Man safe, and then they pulled out the rug from under us. That's sick. That's mad nasty. That was
That's a
scary.
Mysterio scene. Nick
I
Fury
said
wasn't there. That was,
it had Nick Fury in it that you don't know what to believe because I think what
yes,
we-
so we
what
agree.
Vulture never had
Mysterio
was-
is good.
yes, and also
Yeah,
I'm
we
saying it
agree
has to
with
do
that.
with Maria Hill and Nick Fury. They're in those illusion scenes because they're barely in the movie. I know how you guys can
Alvin
be mad
saying
about
like they're the
Nick Fury.
babysitter characters. They're the
I know you
babysitters.
guys can be mad about Nick Fury and Maria Hill when literally Homecoming he wears a Captain America mask, Iron Man mask. They have
Hate that
Aaron, Uncle Aaron. They have Iron
That's
Man.
fine.
They have Tinker who doesn't do anything. They have Shocker. Like I think what.
Well, you're just saying these characters' names. Tinkerer and Shocker are not an issue. They're just side characters. They're just henchmen.
I just don't think Vulture's as strong as Mysterio
But why?
because I don't think he's very deep. He's not. You don't really believe. He's like pretty much.
You don't think it's deep that he's trying to he's trying to support his family?
Yeah, but at
Dude,
the end, he
He's doing
probably
the wrong
should.
thing. He actually makes more sense because that was my problem with Mysterio in this movie. Is I liked the idea that he was wronged by Iron Man, but then he goes so arch of, all right, we're gonna become the greatest heroes in the world. Because I'm like, what is your plan after this? Like, if you become the world's greatest hero and then they call on you to save the world, you can't fake that unless you're always going to say, I have an off-world mission. Like, I think there's no way you can say that and Quentin Beck is a better villain than Adrian Toomes, because he is incredibly human. Like, you do not feel like he's ever wrong in the movie aside from trying to kill a kid. But even then, he just says, I'm not even trying to kill you. He's like, just walk away, let me do this shipment, and then we're chill. We're
Yeah, just
Gucci.
get
Because,
out
I mean,
just
pretty
get
much
out of my way.
Adrian Toomes is just like, he's kind of like just a drug dealer. It's like a drug dealer, weapons dealer, right? Because, I mean, he's giving out these weapons that are going to be going to people, so he's indirectly causing crime.
But the fact that this movie makes you sympathetic towards this character shows how good the writing was for Adrian Toomes.
So Adrian Toomes is good because in the beginning, when I saw the beginning of Hulk, I was like, oh wow, it really does suck you in that he really does get hoed by Iron Man. But when you see throughout the movie that he's made a killing in his underground business, I think it's like then the sympathy kind of goes away a little, because you see he's profited off this heavily, and you're seeing
Like Iron Man.
It's Iron Man,
like
bro.
no, I agree. I'm not parading Iron Man either. I think I actually appreciate that both this and Far From Home kind of show that Iron Man isn't this white knight that people think he is. But I guess even if Homecoming isn't as bad as I'm saying, I do not think there is a drastic difference in quality between Homecoming and Far From Home. I think they're like half a letter or half a grade off. Homecoming, I
So
don't
it's
think is
just
not that good.
it's just the enjoyment of it then, rather than the
Home is
objectivity.
better than both. I'll say
I mean,
that.
objectivity, I think objectivity they're pretty goddamn similar.
They're both sevens. They're both like 6 sevens, sure. No one's better than both of them.
Yeah, I think they're both mid tier.
Well, that just happened.
And I agree with Amir. Because I think.
Well, I mean, it's hard. It's hard for Spider-Man movies to really be good compared to the Raimi trilogy or the Spider-Verse. So, it's like there are good parts in it, but it's still the MCU.
I think what this movie does is like kind of, I guess, I don't want to like be an Amir, but it we've seen better.
Truth?
No, bro. You really think that's all I do? Do you really think that's all I distill you to be? The truth guy? Amir, I've known you for so long. You are so dynamic, right?
I am.
Jeez, don't sell you so short, buddy.
That was my bad. So you were saying what?
It's like we've seen better Spider-Man stuff in other Spider-Man movies, so it's not really engaging me to keep watching this. Besides the villain, who is completely new, we haven't seen in any medium live action or in any live action movie, right? So that's kind of like one of the reasons to draw me in. But the comedy, I did not like the Night Monkey gag. The suit is cool, I guess, but I did not like the Night Monkey.
The suit was lame.
Suit's trash.
Black.
It's just a tactical suit. It's like whatever.
And also,
I don't feel
his classic Spider-Man costume in Homecoming is also trash.
I mean, I guess if you feel that way, for sure, bro, for sure.
Yeah.
You're talking about the homemade suit?
No, his Spider-Man I mean
default.
The suits have never been a strong suit of the Watch trilogy, in my opinion.
I disagree. Okay. I think the classic is it's a good suit, and then
even with your response there, if you're not strongly defending it, you're like, yeah, it's much.
No, but I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to see why you would say that. I'm like, it's not even a controversial suit. It's just the classic. It's like it's
but it's done worse. It's done worse than Raimi and Mark Webb.
But
Alvin,
I mean, what was I going on about? Where it's just kind of like you've seen better Spider-Man.
You said Night Monkey didn't work. No, I agree with that.
Comedy didn't work.
I think for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this movie is a or an S tier movie. My objective is for this title defense is to bring down Homecoming to this size, because I think what you're saying can be applied to Homecoming. What we've seen in
but the title defense for Far From Home.
No, I agree.
This should have been the title offense for Homecoming then.
No, but I agree. I'm saying we're all in consensus that this movie is not as shitty as everyone says, because people say this is the worst Spider-Man movie of all time. It sounds like we're not.
That's the duology.
What?
I think the duology, one of the duologies might be weaker than this. This is like tied for bottom for sure. But it's like the other ones are just good. The other ones are just
I
better.
think I don't know if this is a controversial opinion being a Spider-Man fan, but I feel like it's any Spider-Man movie is kind of like pizza, where I still enjoy the pizza. Like I
Yes,
don't think I've
yes.
ever had I don't think I've ever had a really bad pizza where you can find stuff to like, but there's all you can acknowledge that there's stuff that you
I
don't like. Like
agree.
sometimes the cheese is too much, or sometimes the sauce is too sweet. For the movie, sometimes there's really great Spider-Man stuff, but the comedy is really bad. Sometimes the action is just not up to par, but the character stuff is there. So like
Yes.
I don't know if that's a weird take to have, but I think Spider-Man movies, you learn to pick and choose what's your favorite and what's not your favorite, and I think they each offer something that is unique
It's
and
hard
what
to truly fuck up Spider-Man. It's
Let,
hard.
let me
yeah.
ask you this, Omid. Let me ask you this. Did you go into this movie when you rewatched it? Was it better than you remembered, or you always liked this movie? Because you always liked Mysterio in this, and you saw this like
I
6
always
years.
enjoyed the movie, but what I was surprised about because I thought the first time I liked MJ was No Way Home, but I was like, oh wow, MJ was actually great in this too. Because I love her in No Way Home. I think Zendaya is very good in No Way Home, and in this too, I think the few scenes that she's in are great. I think she just has more to do in No Way Home, but watching this movie again on the rewatch, I mean, I always had a fondness for this movie, and I think probably watching it again, I was like, oh wow, slightly better than I remembered. 'Cause I think Mysterio is great. I like that. I guess on my rewatch, I just can truly appreciate how well they did his power of illusions. I think that was awesome, and I just like at the end that when you see him get shot in the gut and then you see him right in the corner. That to me, like, I mean, I know, but like, oh, I feel like that's the tell because you don't see him crawl. You just see him already sitting in the corner, letting us know, oh, that might not be true. And then you see the spider, like even the spider says it's as dumb as it is to call it Peter Tingle. I like when Quentin
That
like
was dumb too. That was
it's
another
so
failed joke.
I agree. I never liked that, but I mean the fact that Mysterio was about to shoot him in the head, like I felt like there was a true sense of danger in this that I did not feel as much in Homecoming. Because I mean it's just with a character like Mysterio, it just makes you question all of your reality because you don't know what you're seeing is real and what is fake. And I think that is a truly terrifying ability to have. So I mean, on my rewatch, I liked it even more.
Yeah, that is very valid. Like when you bring up like Mysterio's ability, yeah, I think questioning your own reality that drives you insane.
It
Which we
does.
Yeah, I wish they would have leaned more into that, I suppose. Right? Kind of
Yeah.
go even more balls to the walls, right? Because I don't know, sometimes when you think about the logic of Mysterio's like ability, like I'm gonna go back to my notes again. Like the cold opens,
Hydro.
did he just destroy a Mexican village? Like what
Quite
did he do in
What's
the
possibly.
the drone?
beginning? He just
What's the
destroyed a
drone?
village?
Probably.
I see.
He was never a good person. You guys remember he was playing a facade. He was playing a charade. It was an act. He's
I
an
wish they would
actor.
have I wish they would have shown more of his descent into villainy
Madness.
then, because
Well,
it
it was
kind
never
of
a
is
descent because
just
it was always there.
No, but it's like,
I don't know if they
you have to
showed.
see it from the villain. It's like the moment he says, "Take this stupid costume off me," he does feel like a different character, and you're saying, "Oh,
It's
that's who
just
he always was." But that
Mhm,
isn't interesting as a villain. You want
mhm.
to see that change. It's called an arc.
I think it's called like a lie. I mean, he clearly was portraying someone else for the first hour, and then you totally change it in the second hour. Like it makes you even question yourself. Like, oh, is this shit real? Am I being
You
Mysterio
don't
right
think? I
now?
think it'd be way more compelling the moment he gets Edith, he becomes drunk with power, rather than I was always evil and now I get to be evil. I
That's
just
not
think that's
Mysterio though.
none of this is Mysterio. What are you talking about?
It's the idea of he's tricking them. It's all an illusion.
I
If
understand you
you
can
have him
still do the
become drunk with
illusion
power,
and
how do
have it
you
be
then
drunk with power.
lie him, huh? What?
The whole thing is you're saying it's an illusion, right? You can have it be an illusion, and then because of his illusions, that's how he got power. And now that he has power, he gets drunk with power. It's
Well, I
like
mean, they do show that he was
levels.
willing to kill his crew.
No, but like Alvin is saying, we would have wanted a scene that kind of builds it rather than the moment he takes off the suit, he's just evil the rest of the movie.
Yeah, but I think you're asking for like a 3-hour movie.
He's not asking. Alvin, are you asking for a 3-hour movie?
I would not watch a 3-hour Spider-Man movie. I'm sorry. No matter how much I love the character, a Spider-Man movie does not need to be 3 hours.
Unless
That's
it's
my
Beyond the Spider-Verse. That one
Okay,
can be 3.
that would be epic. That would
Well,
be epic.
So it sounds like we're all kind of in agreement that this movie is not as shitty as everyone.
That
This
was
is a more
never-
civil. Well, I mean, because of Twitter, that was the whole thing. You guys, I know for a fact I've heard everything. This is the least Spider-Man movie. This is the least Peter has ever been.
I still feel that though.
Yeah, I feel like
I still feel
that's the most cold take, that Far From Home is the weakest, because I really do think it is. I feel like a majority of people do.
Everyone says that. Everyone says it's the shittiest movie, and I'm disagreeing with that.
Oh, and you
I
think
think
it's
Homecoming is the
second
worst movie.
strongest?
Homecoming is the worst.
You should have just picked Homecoming then. We
Yeah,
should have watched
you really
Homecoming
should have
and
just
talked
picked
about
Homecoming then. And
Or
I think
we-
it would have been, more interesting to spin the video to be like, Homecoming is worse than you remembered,
It is.
right? But we're talking about Far From Home. This video is
Yeah,
about Far From
I
Home.
guess it's a part 1. Spider-Man Far From Home, better than you remembered. Spider-Man No Way Home, perfect movie. Spider-Man Homecoming, dog shit.
Okay, the trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think this is also kind of, not to say a critique, but a good like encapsulation of this movie. Is it doesn't really feel like there's much to talk about aside from Mysterio. I think that is a big weakness of this movie.
And I think
There's
Homecoming
not
has that
much going
problem
on
too.
aside from spectacle.
I've never heard anyone
Okay, is that also, you're saying that's Homecoming too? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I've never heard anyone compliment anything from Homecoming other than Tombs.
Oh my. I don't know what your issue is with Homecoming. The movie is not, it's okay. It's a good movie. It's fine. But I think
Alvin
it's like,
says it's the second best Spider-Man movie.
he didn't say that.
I genuinely think it's a great
It's
Spider-Man
second
movie.
best? It's not
No,
second
not
best. Oh yeah, see?
Probably third best.
It's in my top
six.
5 if we're counting the Spider-Verse movies.
Yeah. Can I get a rundown?
It probably does, for me, it doesn't crack the 5. Like
Same.
7 or 6.
I just
For you, it's the last one.
Yes.
So we're not the same.
Alvin, can you tell me where Homecoming ranks for you?
I think we did this in a video before I think we did this for Across the Spider-Verse, our review. I remember this specifically. I don't know if the ranking has changed, but I think I will say Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2, Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 1, Homecoming, No Way Home, TASM, Far From Home, TASM. No, okay.
Where's Spider-Man 3?
I forgot about that. I forgot about that in the Across the Spider-Verse video. I remember that. So Homecoming, No Way Home,
Homecoming
Spider-Man
number
1. Huh?
Homecoming's number 1?
Homecoming is 5.
Oh, okay.
No Way Home is 6. Spider-Man 1 is 7. No, Spider-Man 1 is 6. No Way Home is 7. TASM 1 is 8. Spider-Man 3 is 9. Far From Home is 10, and TASM 2 is 11.
He's saying, I'm trying to combat this. He's saying it's the second worst Spider-Man movie. That's what all of the internet believes too, and
I believe that too.
Y'all are capping.
And that would be my ranking too. Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 3, Across the Spider-Verse, and then probably No Way Home, probably TASM 2, then Homecoming, then TASM 1, then did I forget anyone? There's only 10, right? And then Far From Home.
11.
Which one did I forget?
Far From Home is worse. I say, probably Spider-Man 2, Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 1, Into the Spider-Verse. I would say then probably Spider-Man 3. And then I would say probably TASM 1. Oh shit, I didn't put No Way Home. Probably No Way Home, TASM 2, Far From Home, TASM 1, Homecoming. Did I miss it? Is it 10 movies?
I got 10 as well.
Yeah, 10. So
3, 4. So it's 10. Yeah, it's 10.
Okay. So I put Homecoming as the worst in mine.
But yours is still bottom 3, so still shit.
It is 4. I don't fucking know.
No,
I said it's not the worst. I told you, I came in here fighting Far From Home is better than Homecoming.
But I don't think you won anyone over by that. I think by the end of this
Because
video,
y'all
I
are
don't
fucking
think...
Spider-Man fanboys.
No.
Obviously, Alvin
No, we're not
loves the
Spider-Man
MCU.
fanboys.
Alvin loves the MCU, so he's never gonna say anything bad about Homecoming. And for
Okay,
you,
but
you
now you're
love
kind
Sam
of just
Raimi.
attacking me as a person instead of
I
attacking
know.
the movie.
I'm not attacking you. I'm just stating the facts. You obviously love the MCU. Amir obviously loves Sam Raimi. He put I believe he put Spider-Man 3 over Across the Spider-Verse.
It
I
is.
will say there's a little bit of a bias, but like
How? How's that?
this is
Where's the bias? All of us have different tastes. We're not all Alvin, where we all think the same. That's a reference.
it's
'Cause he said the
okay.
same shit to me last week.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was good. That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
this is a more civil discussion. I guess they have their head in the ground, never change their opinion on Spider-Man Homecoming.
No. I
hope
told you my opinion changed on it. The
On
movie is
Homecoming.
better than I remember, but it's still. Wait, This is
I'm
not
talking
a
Homecoming.
Homecoming video.
No, I
This is
agree.
not a fucking Homecoming video.
I understand.
Bro,
But you didn't
talk
listen to
about
what
the
I
movie.
said.
Talk about the movie.
You didn't listen to what I was
That's
saying.
a callback.
I understand.
You said the
You
same
weren't
shit
listening
to
to
me
what I
last
was
week.
saying. You weren't listening to what I was saying. I said, this is the end of our discussion. It's a more civilized discussion. I think you guys will keep your head in the ground for Spider-Man Homecoming. Never really change your opinion on it. But I'm happy to see that your opinion changed on Far From Home.
I don't like
is
when you
better
say
than
putting my
Marvel.
head in the ground. It's not putting my head in the ground. It's just actually looking at both movies. They're both fine. This is on the weaker end. Like listening back to this movie, there's not much to say about this movie aside from Mysterio looks cool.
And I
The
said
action
that.
is fun.
Adrian Toomes is a cool villain. That's the same shit I'm hearing for Homecoming. Factual. Yeah.
No, I disagree.
They're
I
both
disagree.
mediocre, sure.
So I guess
So
the
I guess
biggest
I'm convinced
takeaway,
Amir a little bit.
the biggest takeaway, whoever is watching this, the biggest takeaway is that we all have very distinct tastes in our Spider-Man preferences. Just take it that what you will. Amir thinks the MCU movies are just kind of mid. Omid abhors them. He hates them.
I like Far From
Omid
Home.
loves
though.
this one apparently. Omid loves this movie apparently.
And No Way Home's good too. No Way Home's
Two
good.
out of
No Way
three.
Home is good. No Way Home is good. No Way Home is good.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I
is there
hate
anything else we
Homecoming.
wanted? Is there anything else we want to discuss for this movie? Because I feel like, like Amir has said, we've just kind of been going in circles because we haven't even touched upon the drones. We haven't touched upon the final
That was
action
awesome,
sequence
the
in
illusion
England.
tech.
It's because
Illusion
this
tech.
movie is just mid. I think by the
Right?
end of this episode, because like Omid said, that's what we seek to do in a tile defense. We want to come into this
He's putting a
with
serious
new eyes.
voice on. He's putting his business voice.
No, we want to look at movies with a new lens and give it a new chance. And I think with this one, it's an example of it's okay to rewatch a movie and feel the same way you did the first time.
But you didn't feel the way the first time. You enjoyed it more.
It's better, but I'm saying it's still bottom tier.
Sure, but
It's
you
like
enjoyed it more. So I think you should rephrase what you said. You can say, oh, you can watch a movie more, enjoy it more, but rank it the same.
Yes, but that's too many words. That's just a word salad.
Yeah.
I like to be concise. That's kind of what I
Well,
do.
you just weren't though. But but no, I think I think the drones, it was awesome for the illusion tech. We kind of went over all that. I think the scrolls are minimal. It doesn't really detract. And I think the ending of this, I love that Mysterio gets the final fuck you. Like he did something that no other Spider-Man villain has done. Was he exposed his identity? That is epic. That is awesome. It sets into the next movie. That is great. I mean, yeah, maybe it feels like a part 1, part 2. But it's like 12 o'clock, 11:30. But I think what we're trying to have this discussion is I think this movie is a lot better than people say, and I hope. Let me know in the comments. I do think this movie is better than Spider-Man: Homecoming, and I think Spider-Man: Homecoming hopefully can be knocked down a peg or two. But we're gonna be discussing No Way Home
This is
pretty
so
soon.
funny to me. Your thesis for this whole video wasn't that you're arguing this movie is great.
Because you guys all
It's
enjoyed
arguing-
it.
Yes, but I'm saying it's like that. Your thesis is, I want people to watch this movie and realize that this other movie that they like is worse.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think that
Yes.
shows you that
As a
this movie
Mysterio.
isn't strong enough on its
No,
own. That
it's
your
like I'm
like your
Mysterio.
thesis.
It's like I'm Mysterio. I'm trying to detract from the problems with this movie and put
The
it
truth.
onto another movie.
You're trying
It's
to
like
distract from the truth that this movie
Mysterio.
is mid and blame another movie like Mysterio.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do. Alvin, you have any closing remarks? I think this movie is very fun. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing in this. I think he's one of the best MCU actors, honestly. He actually seems like he gives a shit. Yeah, Alvin.
Um.
Man, fuck
Okay.
you.
So yeah, this movie has a lot of problems, but if you like Spider-Man, you'll probably find something to enjoy. And I don't really know what else to say because if you've already seen this movie made 1.3 billion dollars at the box
Yep.
office. You
Yep.
probably
That's
have your own
insane.
opinion of this movie. We're talking about this movie 5 years after the fact. So whatever you think about this movie, I don't know if we're gonna change your opinion of it. The point of this video was apparently to change your opinion of Homecoming by
Yeah, this is
watching
to
this.
change your opinion on this and Homecoming. You guys are smart people. I'm confused. You guys can't understand two topics. We have Far From Home. We have Homecoming. Far From Home is better than Homecoming. That's my thesis.
But the point of a title defense is to talk about the movie we
But but
watched.
but you guys already said you enjoyed the movie, so I don't need to defend it if you guys already enjoyed it. It's binary.
But you didn't change my opinion on it.
Because you already enjoyed it, so I don't need to change your opinion. I'm not saying it's S
I
tier. If
still
you
said
said
it's the worst Spider-Man movie, and you didn't change my opinion.
because obviously you have your head in the ground because you love the
I
Raimi
do not.
movies.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because what was it? You had Homecoming and the Far From
Because
Home as
like
your
you're
bottom
saying,
two.
let me concede your point, right? I am a Tobey Maguire fanatic. I will
Raimiist.
never. Sure, I still have movies under the top 5 that can shuffle because those aren't Raimi and they aren't the it's not the Into the Spider-Verse trilogy. So the bottom 5 can still shuffle, and it did not shuffle after this movie.
Well, I mean, because I think the Taz movies are better than this.
I think a better pick would have been a TASM movie, to be
Tasm, you
completely
should pick
honest.
Tasm too.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
I went in after Amir saw the movie yesterday. He said, "Oh, I even texted you guys like, hey, Amir enjoyed this movie. Should we change it?" I texted that shit.
No, this
So
is still good. I'm still happy we did this because,
no,
like you said,
I agree. I'm
this
saying
this changed the narrative for certain people. Maybe not me.
let's turn off your
Maybe not
business
Alvin.
voice. Let's turn off your business voice. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, if I knew that you guys would have enjoyed the movie, then probably I would pick Tasm too. Do you guys also hate
No, but I
Tasm
think
too?
no, I don't hate Tasm too.
Or would
TASM
it be
2
the
is
same thing?
my
Because
There are a
least
lot of
watched
issues with
Spider-Man movie.
Tasm 2 is great.
there are a lot of issues with it. A lot of issues. There's a lot of issues with a lot of the Spider-Man movies, honestly, that aren't the top 5.
All right. Get off your knees, bro. Get off your knees.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Alvin,
oh.
how about you set up the next video then? So we did the second entry in the Tom Holland trilogy. Set up what our next video is going to be.
The next movie is a title offense, right? For Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm going to be discussing why I don't like this movie. I don't like No Way Home. I might be one of the very few people who don't like this movie in the world because surprisingly, everyone is on
You're
their
almost 2
knees.
million.
They got this movie down their throats, brother.
Oh,
They're
damn.
doing a lot of stuff to this movie, and I just don't get it. All right, of
Damn.
Because I'm actually going to be very excited for that video because,
course you are.
well, it's like I'm not trying to say like you're the hipster, you're like the A24 guy where you can't really like fun movies, but I think aside from it being a fun movie, it is a good movie, and I'm actually very very excited to argue with you because like we saw in our Spider-Man life story video, you and I have different opinions on what matters for Spider-Man, so that's going to be a very very
I
fun
agree.
battle.
I am very excited for that video because I think, as you guys can tell from this video, there are 3 different takes. We all see Spider-Man our own ways. Clearly, I think we have a fundamental disagreement on what constitutes a good Spider-Man movie because you guys like Homecoming, but I think No Way Home is actually great, and I think with you, no, but I actually think No Way Home is really great. I think the origin that Alvin probably has a problem with it is possibly due to I don't know, like
It's because it's popular. He's a hipster.
Yeah, I think it's because it's popular and Spider-Man is beloved by everybody, and it made like almost $2 billion. So I'm very excited for that video, and again in that video I'll probably mention it's better than Homecoming.
Okay.
A lot of things are better than Homecoming. Like, why is that your like?
Well, he's not
stand-
saying that.
Me?
Yeah, don't you think Homecoming's better?
I do.
Yeah, I'm disagreeing with that.
So, just to get the point across, the point of this
You're
series
not
is
arguing.
to
Yeah.
get your opinion
Two types.
changed.
Two types. We had 2 points in this video. 2 points in this video. I think I succeeded
Neither
in
were
both of them.
executed.
I succeeded in both of them because with this movie, it's a lot of people. They said this is the worst Spider-Man movie of all time. I think we've shown pretty clearly that
No,
all of us
we didn't
enjoyed.
show shit.
All
We
of us
didn't show
enjoyed.
shit.
All of us enjoyed the movie.
Let me say something.
Let's hear
Just
it.
go ahead and enjoy the rest of your break, brother. Go ahead and take the rest of the night
My
off.
break
Go
is
get some
almost
rest.
over. My break's almost over. So what I'm saying was, before I finish, I think what I did a great job showing is that this movie, and Mysterio in particular, is one of the strongest villains we've ever had, and I'm excited to talk about No Way Home.
That is wild.
Because
That
as I
out of a
mentioned,
two,
it's better than Homecoming.
that is wild. That out of 2 hours and 10 minutes of a movie that you watched, the only great thing you've discussed in this video is the villain, one singular character.
See,
Out of
I mentioned that Spider-Man actually gets to be his own hero.
but you
Peter.
literally
Spider-Man sucks in this movie. I already
Spider-Man's
told
better in
you.
this than he is in
Spider-Man
Homecoming.
sucks in this movie. It's
He's
Peter
better in
Parker
this.
that's.
He's better in this than he was in Homecoming because he didn't
He
have a
didn't have
silver
any
spoon.
heroic moments.
He didn't have a silver spoon shoved up his ass.
Yeah, sure, he had a silver spoon shoved up his ass, whatever. He actually got to do heroic moments. There's no moment that I can YouTube where I'm like, all right, let me see Spider-Man be a hero. He's a fuck up the whole movie, and then at the end, he just does a Peter
I don't
tingle
see
scene.
anyone doing that for Homecoming either, though.
The tram, what are you talking about? That's an iconic moment.
Because they copied
failed.
Spider-Man 2. They
And-
copied Spider-Man 2.
Not really. I'm not really.
You don't think so? Really?
No.
he saves there's literally a montage of him going
fails.
around New York after school saving people in his neighborhood, bro.
Because you guys have to remember, like
I'm
we've
talking
seen
about the
all
bigger
we've
scale. I'm
seen
talking about the bigger scale stuff.
we've seen all
But
that
we're-
shit before. Because, like, I mean, for Spider-Man fans, we've been consuming this shit for years. I think it's kind of nice to see something different for a change. But maybe for you guys
What was
want to see the
different?
same.
What was different? What
We
was
saw him
different?
actually have to go to school and have a
He
love
wasn't at
triangle.
school.
As
He
I
was on
mentioned,
summer break,
Where
bro.
was the
Summer
school?
He was on
trip-
Where
summer
was he
break.
learning
Summer
algebra
trip-
and physics?
summer trip with his classmates. And I told you this is probably the best love triangle we've seen on film for a Spider-Man movie.
No,
When
I'm
the
gonna give
others
that
are
Spider-Man 1.
non-existent, by
gonna give
default,
that-
this
no.
wins, bro.
Yeah.
Not even.
Yes!
Not even. Spider-Man 1 had a love triangle. It was about Harry, MJ, Peter. That
Harry
was
got
way
cucked.
better.
Harry got
You
cucked.
never made a move. You never made a move. That was a great moment for
Harry got cucked.
I will say there are two love triangles in Spider-Man 3. Eddie, Peter, Gwen, Gwen, Peter, MJ.
No,
And that works better.
if the main character gets cucked, it's not a love triangle because Gwen already pushed off Eddie Brock because they were never really. They just had coffee. We had coffee, Eddie.
That's a great moment.
Yes.
No, but even then, the Peter, MJ, and Gwen stuff, that stuff is incredible.
Peter, MJ,
Brad-
Gwen. Peter, MJ, Gwen. What are you talking about?
Spider-Man 3.
Oh yeah, but
You
obviously
forgot Gwen was in that movie.
it wasn't real. It wasn't a love triangle. This was all of them wanted to get with each
Gwen-
other.
Gwen probably liked him. Gwen probably liked Peter in that movie. But even then,
Peter never.
Spider-Man 3 is obviously better than this movie. That's not
I
even up
agree.
for
I
debate.
agree.
That's not even,
I agree.
Yeah.
But I think I do think Venom is worse than Mysterio. Factual. Alvin agrees with me on that. Factual.
I
Yeah,
guess.
but-
I think
I
Venom
mean-
might be the worst villain in any Spider-Man movie ever.
No, no.
Yeah,
No.
we're not counting Morbius.
Even then, I wouldn't. Harry from Spider-Man 2. TASM 2.
Well, he
And
kills
also
Gwen.
Lizard.
He kills Gwen.
Lizard. Yeah, 'cause that's a cool comic book scene.
I think you like Eric Foreplay, so that's why you enjoy him as Venom.
Jesus.
But that is
So
our.
I think this was a very fun video. It was a very fun discussion. I think this is actually a good pick because I think a lot of people haven't rewatched this movie in years because of the narrative. And I think we didn't necessarily aim to change that narrative. We just wanted to talk about that narrative. And I think Omid did a good job in. What did he do a good job in? I don't really know.
Fuck you. I will say this. I will say
Huh?
this. Discussing Spider-Man with two essentially, I don't want to say fanboys, but I mean, like, obviously, as I mentioned before, Alvin loves MCU.
Yes, I
I'm
love
the
that.
Raimiest.
I love Sam
I'm the
Raimi.
Raimiest. They had their head in the ground the entire video. They were never going to change their opinion on Homecoming nor this. So I'll ask you guys in the comments. Let me know. Let me know. Is Far From Home as truly bad as everyone says it is? I don't think so. I think Mysterio is an amazing character. I think they actually
That's all
understand
you
Peter
talk
Parker.
about.
Dude,
Because that's
this is
all.
we literally filmed the ending of this video twice, and you said the same exact thing. I don't want to wait for a third time.
All right. Well, as I discussed in this video, I think I've successfully.
Shit.
I've
into
successfully shown that Homecoming is much worse than people say it is, and Far From Home is not the worst Spider movie ever made. That goes
Omid,
to
Omid,
Lotus.
if
What?
you're able to, in the edit, just actually edit out the parts where it's just like edit the parts where you actually make a really good point, and then have that be the video.
That's gonna be like a 60-minute video. Fuck.
It'd be a long video,
Yeah.
right?
To have all my good points, I'm only gonna be able to cut out like 2 minutes of this discussion. But thank you guys for listening. I think Alvin mentioned his next one is No Way Home. We'll get that shot and out soon. Anything else you guys want to say before we close out?
I'm
I was
good.
gonna say, I think Tower Defense is always a very fun series that we're exploring more of, and I think as we go into the next cycle after Alvin finishes his, it's gonna be really interesting to see which movies we're gonna be picking after. Because I don't know if we're gonna start branching out of superhero movies, because we're eventually gonna run out of stuff to pick. So I'm just really, really having so much fun with this series in general. So
Maybe
gonna
it'll be
love to
time.
keep doing more videos.
Maybe it'll be time to do Rebel Moon director's cut.
I'm not watching that shit.